Hey, it's Lou and welcome back to Shade Shorts. In this series, I'll be in conversation with artists and curators working in film. And today my guest is Patrice Robinson, curator of the Barbican's forthcoming film season, Snapshots, Caribbean Cinema Up Close. A new talent working in film curation, Patrice's working life began in film through volunteering at film festivals. Her journey continued after securing a place at the Barbican through the Independent Cinema Office Fed scheme, which supports new entrants into the industry. Her work focuses on removing barriers to audience access, and she developed a programme of senior community screenings, as well as launching this cinema season at the Barbican on May the 17th. Patrice joins me this week to discuss her relatively late entry into film work in 2019 and why she wanted to bring Caribbean cinema to a UK audience. Okay, let's go into the conversation. Enjoy. Hi and welcome, Patrice, to Shade. It's so great to have you join us today.
Hi, thanks for having me. Hi.
Oh, you're so welcome. And we're here to talk about your new series, Snapshots, Caribbean Cinema Up Close, which launches at the Barbican soon on May the 17th.
Yeah.
Your entry into film and curating film started when you were part of the Independent Cinema Office scheme, which supports new entrants into the industry. And we talk so much on this podcast about the value of industry entry schemes, whether they work, whether they don't, who they work for, and in
Mm,
what capacity they work. But for
yeah.
you, obviously it did, and it's offered this really solid position from which you can broaden the scope of films
Yeah.
screening in our public spaces, and that benefits all of us.
Thanks.
But what's that journey been like for you so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. It's been so interesting. It's been a bit of a roller coaster ride, like you said, because it's been a short period. I mean, I applied for the space as a Feds trainee in 2019, and we were due to start in 2020, but obviously we couldn't start because of the pandemic. So I actually started the actual role and actually based in venue at the Barbican in June of 2021. So my actual, you know, getting into the work, engaging with my colleagues and having discussions and learning and thinking about what I would want to do and how I want to kind of represent myself and create some work essentially started from June 2021. So yeah, so it's a very short space of time, but it's been such a kind of like enriching process for me, and I I can only champion schemes such as the Fed scheme and a number of others because it has benefited me. And I had previously worked in a completely different sector, so not the arts at all.
Mm.
And when I just made that decision for myself that actually I want to just kind of work more creatively. I'd kind of always suppressed that part of me because I was in this other role, and I just, enough was enough. But when I made that decision, which was bold enough for me anyway, because I've always been quite a person that's kind of, just thinking about paying bills and things like that. Um,
Yeah,
when I made that decision, then it was about, well, how will I actually achieve it? And that was more difficult because there was just not really any entry points, because either I didn't have the background, or I didn't have the connections, or I didn't have the experience, which is all valid. So a scheme such as that was perfect, because the main requirement was that you had to have less than 12 months experience. So I was like, yep, perfect, that's me. And it didn't have an age requirement, which and I say that not to kind of undermine youth schemes, because I think they're so invaluable, they're so necessary. But obviously that I was over 25 when I went for um, you know for a place, so the fact that it didn't have that age requirement was just perfect for me. And I I really think we need to have more schemes like that if they're kind of fit
absolutely.
for purpose. Definitely, we need more of them. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so since that scheme,
Hmm.
you go on to become a freelance curator in film, or do you get offered a permanent position at the end of these
Ah,
schemes? How does it work, or how
that's
did it work for you?
So with that scheme, it's not guaranteed that you will get a job with the venue that you've been placed in. But luckily for me, everything seemed to align because whilst I was actually um, placed, a job came up within the cinema team, and so I had to make that decision if I was going to give up my place as a trainee to take this job, which I did. But it was quite difficult. But I just thought, in the art sector, in the team where I've already, got to know my colleagues and we're working quite well together. Why would I not go for it? So, um, it was just, yeah, it was just everything seemed to align where that job came up. And but I suppose what was really helpful, and I suppose why it's about the, how do I say this, the intentions of the venue and the intention of the person providing the scheme, so in this case Independent Cinema Office, they were really supportive because although I went for the job and they still maintain that connection, I was still able to access support as a trainee, and they still, gave me that sort of guidance.
Amazing. And back to the collection, so
Mm,
we can talk a little bit about what the audience can expect to see when they come along.
yeah.
The collection includes shorts as well,
Yes.
and I was lucky enough to get an early view of one of those shorts, which
Mm,
was called "The Wound Is a Portal."
yeah.
It was an amazing, unique insight into community and our connection with the land and
Mm.
back home. And it was just so beautiful, but I won't share too much about it. But it really was a unique watch. But there are many others on show. And so can you talk a little bit more about some of the other shorts in the Currents collection, and how did you find them? How did they find you? And how did you start to form your choices and decide what you were going to show in this series of shorts?
Yeah. So I had a fantastic opportunity to go to the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival in September of last year. And when I went there, essentially it was for me to um, see more Caribbean cinema because I felt that I just didn't always have access to that, and I only speak for myself. So it was more of a kind of like personal journey to see more, understand more. And when I went out there, I had seen essentially, the films that are now in Snapshots Caribbean cinema up close, and I was just taken aback by, well, I suppose I didn't at first. I just, I just felt that the work was great and that they were so rich. But when I actually started putting the collection together and the program together, I just started to think about the themes, and they're all connected. And I think connection is the what kind of ties them together. So whether it's connection, like you said, to the land with the wound is the portal, or connection with oneself or connection with family. So, say for example, Strictly Two Wheel and my Maxi, also Sugarcake, uh, number of films have that connection to family, and whether that is positive or a negative experience is just about how we interact with one another and how those interactions affect your life moving forward. And I was just really interested. um, I suppose I'm just interested in interpersonal relationships, the kind of intergenerational connection with Strictly Two Will. It's about, again, I won't give too much away. Come and watch the program, but it's about that relationship that Bobo has with his bikes and his work, but how he passes that down to the next generation. And I just kind of, that really resonated with me.
Moving on from the shorts, like the
Mm,
features you're showing
yeah,
are really exciting too. And the season kicks off with the premiere of the brand new restoration of One Hand Don't Clap.
yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about this film? And also, it's a uplifting, kind of joyful, kind of like
Mm,
insight into Calypso
yes,
and the
yes.
community around Calypso, but it completely counterbalances some of the more challenging screenings as
Mm,
well. I was thinking about Parsley, for
yeah.
example, which is screening on May the 31st. So you've
Mm,
obviously like created a really nice balance there,
Yeah.
like a really nice offering for
Thank
the
you.
audience. But yeah, tell us about One Hand Don't Clap, and then maybe we can hear a little bit about Parsley.
Yeah, so we have, yes, an amazing special preview of One Hand Don't Clap, and two screenings of that. When I watched it at the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival, it was kind of premiered as part of their Cinema Under the Stars, and it was an outdoor screening. And so when I was there and just seeing the audience, which is a family audience, so you had from your wee ones, your little ones, to the elders, all engaging and just kind of like, dancing, singing along, the laughter. That was what I wanted to encompass and bring back. It kind of just embodied the entire spirit of Calypso. And just seeing such, legendary artist Calypso Rose just seemed perfect to include that in the season. And I wanted to mimic that aspect of kind of intergenerational kind of communication. So we also are doing a kind of senior community screening. So for elders to bring their, family along, and to enjoy the film in that space catered for them. So I just try to create, like you said earlier, balance amongst the different screenings. And I think the presence of One Hand Don't Clap and Parsley, they balance each other out. It's called Snapshots for a reason. I just wanted to present the audience with an opportunity to dip their toe into different parts of, whether it's Caribbean history, Caribbean culture, Caribbean life. Yeah.
Amazing. And Parsley, can you give us a bit of an insight as to what that feature's about?
Yeah. So it's discussing the Parsley massacre that took place in October 1937.
Mm.
And when I actually watched this film, I didn't know that this took place. And, I just had to kind of forgive my own ignorance in that sense. I didn't know about it. So watching the film, and it is through a narrative, so obviously the event did take place, it's based on historical fact, but it's kind of told through a narrative to kind of walk us through this horrific event, essentially.
Mm.
It's following, the lead, Marie, and she's pregnant, and she is a Haitian woman, and she is partnered with a Dominican man. There's an outbreak, and the mass killing of Haitian people on the border of the Dominican Republic starts, and it's about her journey to escape that, to survive.
How do you feel now as you're about to launch this collection, your first collection of films in the UK at the Barbican, no less,
Yeah,
and it fills the gap for you and for others, by, in
I hope
which
so.
they yeah, in which they put a window into their own worlds, and for others, they get a window into worlds that they haven't been a part of. So,
Mm.
like, how do you imagine that, like, your imagined visitor will be influenced by it? Kind of like how you were influenced by the films that helped shape you.
Yeah, I mean, oh, that's a great question. Well, first of all, the first part of your question about how do I feel, I'm completely overwhelmed, but in the most positive, in the like most amazing way, to have been able to kind of like achieve this. But I really, really hope that the audience member that walks in can, see themselves in that. And I know that, yeah, my target audience are, people across the diaspora, but for everybody else as well, it's not a kind of exclusive experience. I want them to be able to think about how they represent themselves in their own life, and also just question how they their own experiences with Caribbean cinema in the kind of present day, and maybe we can kind of question why we haven't seen more of it.
Thank you so much for putting it together. Like, and it's been amazing speaking to you. So thank you so
Oh,
much for
thank
telling us
you.
about Snapshots. Thank you, Patrice.